And so actually gone through a lot of introduction and talking last week, and we don't want to actually repeat that. So what we just want to do today is going to be more like a very short practical session. And so let's just get started. I think the recording of last week is also going to be made available. And for me, if you're really interested in getting started with Android development, I strongly recommend that you go through the recording. And Call Creek, you're welcome. I don't know if Call Creek you're going to find this interesting, but let's see how it goes. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, let me share this first. All right, so this module is part of the prior to programming track. So after interacting with most of the learners, I found out that there aren't many people that were working with the new to, and a lot of them are already good at writing some form of program and Kotlin. Like no one is actually a novice with that. So many people already started with the power to programming track and of the material. And so during the week and after interacting with most of the learners, I found out that some people already on the third unit of the whole material. So I think for us to you actually saw the application that Abisayo built, and it's actually
Yes,
following this material. So obviously he would have gone past here and all that. So I want us to focus on data binding today. It's the unit 4 of the code lab, and that is where we are presently. So this app, one of the learners actually built this, but I'm not sure that the person is already in data binding. And so I want to talk about data binding within the next 30 minutes. Okay, so first, like why the importance of data binding, I think it's very important that we stress that before we start speaking. So really what data binding is trying to do is that data binding is trying to connect the layout and the logic of the application together. And the best way to actually explain that is that without data binding or before data binding, so prior to data binding, the Android system uses a function called find view by ID to access views in a layout. Now, the problem with that function is that the function is very expensive. It's computationally expensive. And whenever you call find view by ID, the Android system have to traverse through the whole tree hierarchy. So in Android, if you look at the underground working, every view in your layout is like it's assigned as a node in a tree. So the structure, and every view is assigned as a node in a tree. So whenever you call find view by ID, you're trying to tell Android, okay, now I am in my Kotlin code and I want to get this view. So what Android does is that is at the top. Android traverses to find out. If you have a layout of like 50 views and then you call find view by ID for one is at the 49th position of the tree, then the Android system has to traverse all down to that place. So really that's what happens when we call find view by ID. So it's computationally expensive. And for those of you that are familiar with the tree data structure, I think like traversing a tree, but if you look at log n, when you actually do such operation, let's say 50 times in your code, or in instances whereby the Android operating system queues your application process and your application have to be created again and all that. Imagine it's just calling find view ID. It can get very messy and it's also very expensive. Now, So with that being said, one of the ways that programmers or Android developers actually try to maneuver this cost that comes from using find view by ID, it's to cache the views inside a variable. So rather than you always calling find view by ID, like when your application process is created, you can just cache all the whole views inside a variable, and then you use those views repetitively. Now, the issue with that is that it's actually a big improvement, but it really doesn't solve the problem. The issue with that is you're caching a view and you're collecting space in the memory. So while your application is running, you're actually taking precious space to keep those views. And like a view is actually a Java class, since Android the toolkit was written in Java first. So it's a view is in a Java class, and you're just trying to you're assigning an instance of that class into the variable. Now, when maybe a user minimizes from your app and go to another application, and Android finds out, okay, that application needs more resources. What Android does is that in the background, Android completely kills the process of your application. Now, once that happens, there is something called the garbage collector. I really don't want us to go deep into that, but the garbage collector just takes out instances of class that are no longer in use. Now, in most cases, the garbage collector is not smart enough to completely clean all the whole classes. Like the garbage collector might leave a few instances just playing around in case the user wants to get back to your application like quickly and all that. And so when the user comes back to your application, the Android system have to review the entire application. And in most cases, those classes that you cached before, like they're initialized and you have like multiple instances of the classes running in the memory. And if you're building a very big application, it can get to a point whereby you just have a out of space error and all that because you didn't really use the Android memory resource very well. So really what data binding is trying to do is that data binding is completely eliminating find view by ID. It's connecting the layouts, the Android layout system directly with the code. And so all you have to do is to initialize the data binding class. And from data binding class, you access every view there. So with that being said, I think like that's actually enough introduction to what's going on with find view by ID and all that. And so I wanted us to actually go through these code labs, and maybe if we still have time, because we'll actually go through it. So and like when I was actually having conversation in the group yesterday, one thing I mentioned was that we are not trying to teach you guys all this. Like we're not trying to repeat the process again. Like it doesn't make sense and it's completely redundant that after so much hard work have been put into these resources, then we still come back and we're telling you type this and type that. No. So what we're trying to do is just to supplement the efforts that have already been laid on ground, and where we really want it to be and we're trying to emphasize on peer-to-peer learning with this. So this material and all that advocates for self-paced learning, that no one's going to teach you. You consume these resources at your own time and whenever you want to, at your own convenience. Then what we are just trying to do is walking through most of these topics, exploring them so we could actually provoke discussions, and from those discussions, people can share about their experiences, talk about what they know and all that, just to drive peer-to-peer learning amongst participants in the study jam. So enough talking. Let's actually do some coding. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to share. Okay, so let's continue with the last application last week. So it's actually very nice that we're still going to upload this on YouTube. So yeah, could actually what we did today. So before you can use find view by ID, you just go to the whole process is actually outlined here. So if like while I'm walking through it, it's confusing or it's not clear, you know that every process is actually outlined there. So you have to declare that, okay, you want to use data binding. Sorry, before you can use data binding, so you have to declare that you want to use data binding in your build.cradle file. And there were actually two ways to do that before, but I think there's only one way now. Android have actually moved the other way. So you have build futures, then put data binding. Say it's true. So you then sync, you sync the Cradle, the, the Cradle, like the project. So after you're done with that, then you can start working with data binding. What I want us to do is this. So this was the app we built last week, and the app displays a text, hello world. So I want us to access this app from the main activity using data binding. And okay, so I think we have an error there. So let's use true rather than true. So like I said, I want us to access this app from the main activity, sorry, to access this text view from the main activity using data binding. And maybe, okay, let me add a button too. And so when we click the button, I want like the text is going to change, like the text on the text view. This text is going to change from hello world to hello DSC LASU. And like for those of you that already started with the study Jam materials, you will already be familiar with this, the whole layout editor. And so it just makes building layouts very fast, and like you don't have to keep typing codes and all that. So we're not trying to do like anything that's going to be so huge or so glamorous, but sorry. So what we just want to do is to explore data binding as a concept, as a topic, and that's what we just really want to do with this session. Okay, I think that's enough. Okay, let's assign text. So that's enough. The project has synced, and so to work with data binding, you always have to declare this in your build or Cradle file. And then after that, the layout file that you want to use data binding on. Wait, let me check the chat. Okay, so I was going through the chat. So after that, the layout file you want to use data binding on, you have to wrap it up in a layout tag. So the easiest way to do that is to use Alt Enter. I think Control. Wait. Okay, you use Alt Enter, and the Android Studio is going to give you suggestions and all that. And for those of you that are not using Windows computer system, everything is outlined in the whole material there. So now we've wrapped it with the layout tag. This was the initial layout, is inside the layout tag. And also data binding also, like the real power of data binding comes when you want to share data from, let's say, an activity or a view model to the layout file. So you could just connect, so maybe rather than you assigning data to each of the view from your code, all you have to do is maybe declare like a variable here, it could be something, then you just assign it and all of that. I think that's a little bit more advanced yet, and so we are not going to look at that. And now we've actually done that. Then we need to initialize. Okay, right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to declare a binding variable. So the binding variable for this activity. So activity main binding. Okay. So with late init var, what we're trying to do is like we're telling the Kotlin compiler that it's actually a promise. So we've declared this binding variable, but we have not yet instantiated it. We have not yet initialized it. So what this late int var keyword is trying to say is that we promise that we are going to initialize it. So just allow us to escape, because without late int var, if we use just var, we're going to get an error. If we use var, we're going to get an error. So we're trying to say that, okay, please, this is a promise. We promise you we're going to initialize it. And here in our onCreate function, we are going to fulfill that promise by initializing the binding variable. And this is how to actually initialize it. So we use the data binding util class, and then we access the set content view function. And with set content view function, we have completely set this main activity to the binding variable. So like this is the main activity here, layout dot main activity. So I've set it to the binding variable, and now you'll see that from here, from our binding variable, we can access all our views. So this is the first button that, like, this is the ID of the button that I created earlier, and this is also the text view. So if you look at it here now, you've seen that, okay, this is the ID. So let's change this from text view to message view. So to message view, and when we come back here, you've seen that when we can get our message view directly from the binding variable. So every underscore it encounters, it removes it, and then it puts the next character, it makes the next character after the underscore an uppercase. Now with that, since we have declared that, okay, this activity is going to be is going to use data binding, we can no longer access find view by ID. Oh, okay, we can access find view by ID, but it doesn't make sense for us to use find view by ID. So now to actually do, maybe to get that, okay, I'm sorry, to get that message view we declared in the activity, if we're using find view by ID, then we have to use this function find view by ID. We tell it that, okay, it's a text view, and we have to now put arrow.id.message view. So is it, but like we discussed before we started, this find view by ID function is incredibly expensive and it doesn't make sense. And now we see that, okay, even if we want to initialize this message view once, like if we want to cache it, so maybe whenever we want to use it, we can say message view dot, but it's very ugly, and when your code start getting huge, it just messes a lot of things up. But with this data binding function, so you don't need to declare a new variable for the button, you don't need to declare a new variable for the text view, and also declaring variables is also expensive. So with data binding, you just have all the variables here. And so what I want us to do is, I want us, when we click the first button, we are going to change the text in the message view to welcome to DSC LASU, or no, hello DSC LASU, Android. So hopefully it's going to work, and really that's going to be all for today's session. So let's run our application first. Now, like I said earlier, what we're trying to do this is just to explore what the whole data binding idea and why you should use it over find view by ID. Aside from the fact that, okay, you want to follow Android best practices, but data binding is actually, it also helps you write scalable codes and applications. So when you are trying to build more robust applications with data binding, everything just comes together very easy. You've seen how we're able to access the first button using our data binding variable and also the message view. Now, imagine for us to access the first button, maybe we'll have to do something like, okay, let's play with it. Let's say we'll have to do something like find view by ID, r.id dot first button, and then we set an on-click listener on the button. Okay, let's import this. And then we set an on-click listener on the button. And then for us to change the text, we also do find view by ID. Like there's just a lot of repetitive code just going on here. Like always find view by ID, every time find view by ID, find view, like it's obviously so ugly. Now, so what I'm trying to do with this is that now you see how data binding made everything compact. The code is easier to read. Now imagine using this to find view by ID and just bouncing all around and all that. It makes things messy. So while we're waiting for the application to build, so I want to share anything here for me. Okay, I didn't see the charts earlier, but it seems as if maybe there is an issue with my network and all that, but I hope that is fine now. So the application has finally built, and I think Abisayo just joined us. I don't know if he was already in this stage. Okay, so the application is not the most beautiful, eye appealing, but let's hope the logic works. So once we click this change button, we want to change from the hello world text to hello DSC LASU Android Jam. And it worked. So it changed to hello DSC LASU Android Jam. And that's it. That's it with data binding and exploring it. So like I said earlier, and I really hope that the whole session was explanatory enough. But so let me share the screen of the code. Oh, I didn't show you guys the Android screen. Okay, so let me share the screen of the Android application. Okay, so let me share my emulator now. All right, so I've started sharing my emulator and I'm waiting for the app to restart. Okay, let me actually do that quickly. So like the whole idea with this session is to explore find view by ID as a topic and as a stuff. We're not trying to like start everything afresh or start everything from the scratch and all that. So I'm still going to share the code labs, the screen of the code labs. And okay, so the application is on screen now. And when we click the change button, it changes to hello DSC LASU Android Story Jam. So what we achieved with this is that we showed that you can access views in the layout file, in the layout XML file, without using the find view by ID function. So we access those views using the data binding function, using data binding. And we explained that data binding makes the code more concise, more readable, and it's more efficient. So even if you like ugly codes, but you have to like efficient codes. So data binding makes the code more efficient because the find view by ID function is very expensive. Now, data binding shines at its best when you use it to bind the data, as its name implies. So when you use data binding to bind data, that is where you get the most out of data binding. And we are done with that. So I will just share the screen of the code labs, and that's going to be all for today. Okay, now so back to the code labs. The code labs is the code labs is part of the study jam materials, the unit one of the study jam materials. I think like most learners are already on this track now, and we explored layouts in and inside the layout, that was where we explored data binding. So I want to also talk about this. Like I sent only the unit one to the WhatsApp group, but when you're done with unit one, you know that okay, there is a unit two, so it also has like other activities in unit two and all that. But okay, this was the code labs here, and you've seen like it's more explanatory than even this session, and a lot of things were done here and all that. So hopefully those that are already on the Android study jam track, those are already taking it, you're going to get here. And while you're actually walking through this, we hope that insight you've gotten from this session is going to come in valuable. At least you understand why you need to use data binding. And then in the layout, the code labs went further to also bind data and all that. So if you look at here, so really, that's all for today, and I have to hand over to the DSC lead. So Fawaz, you can.
Thank you very much, Prosper, and I hope we have learned one or two things. Like I said, everybody's mic is on. I don't know, let me confirm again. So if you have any question for him, I was expecting you guys to ask question. So last week I realized that only few people mic were on, like I and Bella. So this I was like, okay, since this is a session whereby we teach something, I think it's just best for us to have that two-way communication. So that was why I switched on everybody's mic. So if you have any question, you can just use your mic. You see the mic. If you are using your phone, you see the mic logo on your screen. Just click it, and so you'll be able to unmute it. If you are using your laptop, it's very visible to you. So just click it and ask your question. Prosper is still here, so you will. He's going to give you answer directly now. So that's that. Okay, I think someone is trying to ask a question. If you are not on the WhatsApp group, the Kotlin WhatsApp group, you can reach out to me. I don't know. Let me just grab the group link for the Prosper. I say for the Prosper for the Kotlin WhatsApp group. Okay, hold on. Coming. While I'm looking for the link, please ask your question. No, a big question. Ask question. Please ask question. Question. It's very important to you because I know you can't get everything at once. Boss, let me know lie. I'm super lost by okay. Today Kalki said he's lost. Okay, let's try to joke around. If you find your way to Oshodi, like look one normally tell me, find your way to Oshodi first, then you're ready to say, but I'm just joking actually. So okay. Maki, you have Prosper number, right? So and you have my number. So just message me or Prosper so you can set you up on how to start and the likes. Okay, the recording the recording is not available. I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to upload my YouTube channel there now. Chat. This one also I'm recording it already, and I'm going to share the link also on the group chat when I upload it on YouTube. I'm trying to look for the link. Prosper, please, can you help me with the link? I can't find the link.
All right. Let me see if I can get it quickly.
Okay. So while we wait for Prosper, if you have any question, please ask. If it's not pertaining to under study jam also, you can ask me. But if it's money issue, don't ask me. Go and ask God. All right. So, but if it's business issues, you can ask me also. Just ask questions. You can ask how Prosper got to know everything. You can ask him. He's going to tell you. He can give you ginger. Prosper is a boss, so I'm like, he's one training me also. So now that we have feel like okay, so into like yet. I'm trying. I'm trying to see if we can hold one as soon as possible. But the thing is, everything still looks unsettled to me, and so I'm just trying to get my head together. But if it's going to be a session, it's not saying like okay, like okay, we can just meet community checkup where everybody will just be on in that event, and we're just going to talk on and maybe drink some wines and the likes. I'm joking though. We're going to keep everybody updated and we'll let everybody know how it's going. So I think there's no question. Okay, Prosper, please send the recording here. Okay. I said the group link rather. Sorry. Prosper, please send the group link here again. So people that have not joined will join. Can you hear me, Prosper?
I'm coming. So I'll get it right now.
All right. Like I said, your mic is on. Everybody can switch on their mic. You can ask questions.
I just went through the attendees list and like really there's a lot of most of the guys that are already working with the study jam materials, like most of them are not present here. So obviously if there's no questions here, we take like questions during the week on the WhatsApp group. So that's the WhatsApp group.
All right, so that's the WhatsApp group link. If you have, is on the chat section. If you haven't joined, please do so to join now. So if you have any other question, just make sure you ask in the group chat during the week. Then the last session is going to be on Saturday. But nevertheless, we're still going to continue our Kotlin study group where you can ask questions. The material is available to you for life. It's given to like Google Dash you. You can have it. So if you have any other question, just continue to ask Prosper and he's going to give you answer. You can also ask your colleagues. Like I know some people I had like someone already built an app. He sent the APK to the group. He's not here, so you can ask him also. So that way is going to facilitate both of you learning. So that's it. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I think we're just going to end the call right now. And bye.